Let's talk about Nigeria. It's a country that's just brimming with potential, right? So much energy, so many smart people. But at the same time, it's wrestling with some of the biggest economic challenges you can imagine. It's a land of paradoxes, and in this explainer, we're going to try and make sense of it all.
First things first, you have to get your head around the sheer scale of the place. We're talking about more than 220 million people. That makes Nigeria Africa's most populous nation by a long shot. So when its economy sneezes, believe me, the whole continent feels it.
And this is where we get to the core puzzle. On one hand, you hear that Nigeria has the biggest economy in all of Africa. That sounds amazing. But then you see the other side of the coin. Almost half the country, nearly 1 in every 2 people, is living in poverty. So how on earth can a country be so rich and so poor at the very same time? That is the big question. To start unraveling this, we've got to do what they always say: follow the money. And I think you might be surprised to find out where Nigeria's wealth really comes from. It's not as straightforward as you'd think. Okay, imagine Nigeria's entire economy is just one giant piggy bank. Now, if I asked you what the biggest, shiniest coins inside were made of, you'd probably say oil, right? And you'd only be kinda right. So let's look at what's actually happening on the ground every day. The country's GDP. The real workhorses of the economy are actually the services sector. Banking, tech, movies, and agriculture. Together, they are the vast majority of the economy. And oil? Look at that. It's just a tiny little 4% sliver. But, and this is the craziest part, when you stop looking at the whole economy and start looking at just the government's income, the whole picture flips upside down. Boom. That tiny 4% slice from oil suddenly provides a massive 65% of all the money the government has to spend. And that is the heart of the problem. This whole situation has a name: the oil paradox. The government is completely hooked on this one tiny part of the economy that, by the way, doesn't even employ that many people. So what happens? When global oil prices go up or down, the entire government budget gets thrown into absolute chaos, even if the rest of the economy, the 96%, is doing just fine. So, the government is getting all this cash from oil. The next logical question is, where's it all going? And that leads us to the second massive issue facing the country, what you might call the debt trap. Just take a look at the government spending plan. A huge chunk, 36%, is just for day-to-day running costs, like paying salaries. Then, get this, another 32% goes straight out the door just to make payments on old debts. That leaves only about a quarter of the budget for everything else, for building the future, like new schools, new hospitals, new power grids. It's just not enough. Now, I want you to really let this next number sink in, because it's pretty shocking. For every single naira the Nigerian government earns in revenue, it owes more than that, 1 naira and 62 kobo just in debt payments. It's basically like you're having to take out a new credit card just to pay the interest on your old credit cards. You can see how that's not sustainable. And this isn't just some abstract accounting problem. This has real-world consequences. This debt trap is what's holding back development. The money that should be fixing roads so farmers can get their crops to market, or building power plants so businesses can actually run, is getting eaten up by the debts of the past. And as you can imagine, this kind of financial pressure at the top doesn't just stay there. It's forced the government to make some really tough choices. And those choices are hitting everyday Nigerians and their businesses incredibly hard. It's been like a domino effect. First, to save money, the government got rid of a huge fuel subsidy. Almost overnight, the price of fuel and transportation just skyrocketed. At the exact same time, the currency was devalued, making anything that's imported, like machine parts or raw materials, insanely expensive. It's been a total perfect storm. And the result of that perfect storm can be summed up in one absolutely staggering number: 7.2 million. That's the number of small and medium-sized businesses that were forced to shut their doors in just 1 year. These aren't giant corporations. This is the lifeblood of the economy, the small shops and workshops that employ over 80% of the entire workforce. It's a catastrophe. So why did they close? Well, they were getting hit from every single direction. Their customers were broke, so nobody was buying. The cost of their supplies went through the roof. They couldn't get a loan to stay afloat. And to top it all off, the power grid is so bad they had to spend a fortune on diesel just to run a generator. It was an impossible situation. So after all this economic turmoil and pain, it feels like Nigeria has arrived at a really critical moment, a crossroads. with two profoundly different futures ahead of it. And the choice couldn't be more stark. On one path, they stick with these really painful reforms. The hope is that it leads to stability, decent economic growth, and lower inflation by 2026. The other path, they give in to the pressure, they scrap the reforms, and the risk there is a full-blown economic crisis, maybe even a debt default, with poverty climbing past 60%. The stakes are incredibly high. The bottom line is, there really is no easy way out of this. The decisions that get made over the next couple of years, they're not just about managing a crisis. They are going to set the direction for Nigeria for the next 20 or 30 years. And that's really the thought we want to leave you with. Nigeria has everything going for it. A young, huge population, incredible natural resources, and this amazing entrepreneurial hustle. The potential is right there. You can feel it. But the real question is the will there? The political will, the societal will, to see through this incredibly painful journey, to finally unlock it all.